Please be aware, in this podcast series we talk about all areas of safeguarding, which some people may find upsetting. So please make sure you're okay listening to today's topic. Be mindful of those around you, such as children, that you might not want to listen in. Hi, I'm SSS Safeguarding Director Sam Preston.
And I'm former head teacher and content author Sarah Spinks.
Welcome back to Safeguarding Conversations. Today we're looking at one of the hardest but most important safeguarding themes, and that is abuse of power. And it's been sparked by a case involving a trainee doctor who's facing serious allegations, including those against children. It's a stark reminder that when trust and authority fall into the wrong hands, the results can be devastating.
Yeah, and it really underlines something we can't ignore. Abuse by people in positions of authority isn't just about the individual. It exposes deeper failures, in culture and oversight. And it just shows how systems built to protect can be twisted, into shields for perpetrators.
Abuse between peers is already serious, but abuse by someone with authority feels different, doesn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, completely. When careers, reputations, or access to resources rest in the hands of the abuser, victims feel they have no safe way to resist. So speaking up can seem more dangerous than staying silent. And that's exactly how coercion works. It creeps in gradually. A comment here, a request for secrecy there, slowly sort of eroding boundaries until control feels normal.
Institutions can often make it worse. Too often, complaints are managed with legal liability or reputation in mind and not safeguarding. And that's how concerns, they do get minimised. They get brushed aside. Or, as can happen, they can be buried through non-disclosure agreements.
Absolutely. And we've seen this pattern across sectors. So, the Thirlwall inquiry into Lucy Letby showed how staff warnings were ignored. In policing, David Carrick's case revealed how culture and loyalty hid him, despite repeated complaints.
Yeah, and in politics, the Westminster Complaints Scheme is dealing with rising cases of bullying and harassment. But MPs' influence and party politics make real accountability hard.
And then we can also see it in sport. The White Review exposed how unchecked authority of coaches in the British gymnastics enabled abusive practices. Faith communities and one-to-one education settings like tutoring or driving instructions have also been vulnerable. So sadly, the Jimmy Savile case still stands as the most notorious example of how institutions could turn away rather than confront.
Yeah. So the question is, what do we do with these lessons? Because outrage isn't enough.
Exactly. Safeguarding has to anticipate risk, not just react after scandals. And that means being honest about power imbalance. Codes of conduct and training need to spell out those risks. Complaints, HR records and staff feedback shouldn't be seen in isolation. Those patterns always need to be tracked.
Yeah, and reporting systems, they matter too. Victims need genuine choices, not just one chain of command. Independent panels, external trustees, or outside legal support can make reporting safer.
And I think for me, leadership really has to own safeguarding. Boards should see reports that highlight trends and near misses, not just statistics. Whistleblowers have got to be protected with anonymity and that real consequence for retaliation.
And oversight. I think oversight is especially crucial in roles that involve one-to-one work. Structured supervision, check-ins, and rotation can reduce risks, and sanctions should be based on risk, not status. No one should be untouchable.
Yeah, which then sort of makes me think about transparency and how that's
Yeah.
vital. Once cases close, organisations should publish, anonymised lessons learned, showing that exposure leads to reform, not cover up. It's a key, I think, to restoring trust.
Absolutely. Abuse by people in power isn't rare. It's a constant test of whether safeguarding systems can really withstand that kind of pressure.
Yeah, and I think it's a challenge, for all of us, in healthcare, policing, politics, sports, faith and education, the media, it's to make sure that the systems are strong and independent enough to protect the vulnerable, not the powerful.
Yeah, that's a sobering thought, Sarah, but it is a necessary reminder. So thanks for joining us for this episode of Safeguarding Conversations. And until next time, we hope we'll see you soon.